how has content creators changed over the years for me? Because for you, sorry. So, because when I've seen it all, that was sort of like, that was the first people blowing up on YouTube, was doing all the pranks. But now you got people doing all kinds of different types of content. You got Casey Neistat crushing it, Mr. Beast. How have you sort of seen it? So for the people, I guess, watching this right now that are looking at you going, fuck, he's created an amazing life for himself by just creating content. How have you sort of seen it change? What's hot now? What's working now?
I'll tell you one thing. The only reason I've been able to do this for 10 years full time is because I've constantly pivoted at the right moments. So the reason why, like, you know, it was funny because last year I was going through the people I subscribed to on YouTube from like day one back in 2013, 2014. And I counted literally about 70% of those people, no matter how many followers they had, subscribers, you name it, tens of millions, they're all gone. 60%, 70%. And you get to a point in social media where it's like, okay, like my life is now online. I'm doing all these things as a career. So what do I do next? And if you're not smart about it, you're going to over exhaust your audience in one niche without pivoting at the right time. Another example is this. People say to themselves, oh, you know, I've been known for, say, pranks, or I've been known for this one type of content for so long. I want people to know that I'm actually a person and that I have real feelings, real life, this and that. So I'm going to do some family vlogging. Then what happens? You start vlogging your kids. Your relationship with your kids becomes all about your business and your work. And you start having personal life problems where you go, you know what? Social media is just fake. Like, there's no point me actually trying to continue to do this where it's ruining my family life, my personal relationships. Look at Austin McBroom, the Ace Family guy. His whole life is online, and his kids are suffering from it because he's out there so caught up in this world where now he's cheating on his wife. He's literally like almost fabricating his family for views. So now he's not even got a proper relationship with his kids because of YouTube. So it's like you get to a point in social media where you're so fed up with like being known for one thing that all you want to do is kind of show people that you're actually human. But having said that, a lot of people go down the wrong track of doing that.
So how have you pivoted over the last few years? So we were just talking, you said the last couple of years you sort of taken a big brand change, or how have you talked to us through you said you've been good at pivoting. What's it involved?
Yeah, so one thing no one besides me will tell you honestly is that no matter who you are, no matter how popping you are, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many fans mob you on the street every single day, you will reach a point 5, maybe 2, 3, 5 years down the track where you become so-called irrelevant. And it's what you do in those situations that really determines your future. So when I first started social media, I was like one of the only few guys in Australia doing these pranks, right? So I was loved, respected, adored. I'd get mobbed in the street, you name it. Like, I was living that celebrity lifestyle, you could say, to an extent. And what happens when you feel that and you feel almost like people are treating you like you're God, you start viewing the world in a different way. And so then when that's a normality for you for so many years, like it was for me, and then you start noticing that people, you know, don't really care about you anymore, or people are sick of your stuff, or people don't really, you know, want photos with you anymore, or they just see you as a normal person. It's at that moment you have to really check yourself and say, hey, was I doing this for the wrong reason in the first place? Or do I have another identity that's more strong apart from the fame? So when this happened to me, when I became, you could say, irrelevant, or whatever you want to call it, in 2021 or so, I didn't care, bro. Like, I didn't care because I had another foundation that was so much more important to me than people knowing who I was, which, you know, is partly to do with my faith in God, which I didn't have before this. So to answer your question, the reason I was able to pivot was because firstly, I was able to get to a point where I didn't sort of have my identity fixed in popularity. And then secondly, when I felt the audience sort of get sick of something over time, I'd pivot into something else quickly. And so I've probably pivoted like 4 times, you could say. And that's the key to it, really. And that's why, you know, you don't find many people that have been able to do this for 10 years like I have.
Yeah. So my whole background is like I study human beings. Like I love to know why people do the things they do. So, and what I worry about, not really worry, it's like I'm up at night worrying about it, but what I'm aware of is younger people getting started in content now. Like, we grew up in a generation where we have that. I think our generation is the coolest because we grew up without it. We grew up in the be home when the streetlights come on. And then we also grew up in the era of, a Nokia 3310 to an iPhone and, content, social media. We're like, fuck, this is cool. All these new people are growing up with just TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all these things. and they're already getting started with attaching their self-worth to followers and views and all these sorts of things. Because I definitely went through a similar thing of like when I had like a kind of, I built a network marketing business a long time ago, and I killed it in that industry. So whenever I'd be at any of those events, I was like, people would come and get all the photos and all the shit. Yep. But then I'd go outside and it was normal, right? So I developed the humility through that, where it's like, to some people it's like this big thing and some people it's not. So I had to develop within that. Nothing externally is an attachment to my own self-worth. Have to develop it. So what's your advice, I guess, to young content creators now, or anyone creating it? How do we build this as an actual business versus it's our own identity, and revert, so we don't go down like a hole of...
Such a good question, man. I think the key is to just not get overconsumed and like overexcited by the views and the followers. Because there is something called the broke influencer syndrome, where someone can have millions of followers. I know people that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million followers on TikTok, and they're broke because they haven't known that views and followers don't equate to revenue necessarily. So a big thing that I'm an advocate of is it's really hard, right? Because when you build a brand and you say do like a certain genre of content that just hits, right? That genre could be, I don't know, like slapping people with a fish. Where's that going to get you? But then what happens is you see a video where you've just added like 100 videos, right, of you doing all these different things. The one where you slap some guy in public with a fish goes viral. You think, all right, done. I'm going to double down on this. Now the smart person would say, okay, cool. So this is actually like somewhere where people, for some reason, have this weird interest fetish in. I don't know what it is, right? So what I'm going to do is, while, you know, using business terminology and strategy, double down on what's working, but then create something out of it where maybe you sell your own fish or something. But having the awareness that the hype will only last so long. I have a friend who went super viral on TikTok, right? And I said to him, bro, like, your content is funny, but it's not marketable. So you have to really double down right now while you're relevant, right now while you're hot, trending, and sell something off the bat, because you can literally, you know, potentially, it's social media, but like anything can happen, retire off the money you make from like one trend, literally.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, maybe. I'm like, just do this. And he never did it. And now, you know, he's struggling for money. So it's like people that see the views and see the followers, they're going to double down on whatever it is, but they don't have that business mindset. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't either back then. I had no idea, but I was lucky because I was already on platforms that were monetizable like Facebook and YouTube. So I had a revenue stream instead of just TikTok views. So I guess my advice would be like, don't get carried away thinking that you got 1 million views on a video, that it means something, because it doesn't unless you're actually smart about it. And also don't have your self-worth in views either, because you'd rather have 1,000 true followers that will actually support you in what you do and, you know, consume your content and buy your stuff that you sell, than millions of followers that don't care about you.
Yeah. Yeah. So how I look at all of my stuff is I literally sit down with my team every single week, and my team, we look at everything as just as data, and we're all so emotionally detached from it. And the other day, in fact, I was sitting with my social media manager, and I said to her, I go, cut this clip from this podcast, put that out. And she's like, oh, but are you sure? I said, yes, I'm fucking sure. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, but you might get hate on it. I said, that's why I want it out. Yeah. It's going to get fucking views. I'm like, it's going to, and it went well. And because I'm like, you're emotional about it. Stop being emotional about it. A random person's comment means nothing about me. Our game here is growing all our social media. That's it. Like we just want to increase it. So we sort of look at everything objectively, and we have it all on KPIs. We're like, what did we grow this week? What's trending? What's working? That video popped off. We got more views on that than other ones. Then instead of being like, oh yeah, we don't ever celebrate it. We'll just look at how come. Why did it perform? And we're analyzing everything just to try and recreate it and do better. And even like we're about to hit 100K followers on Instagram. And every time we look at it, we're just like, fuck yeah, like more. And I know the celebration for it will be like, yay, someone will probably post in chat. We did it. Cool. Okay. Next spot, 150. Let's go. Yeah. You know, and it's and we also know, because all the content we put out, our audience is a direct reflection of the impact we're having as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that we put out is impact. So it feels really good. But in the early days, it was like we'd put out content. I'd be like, oh, I'm getting attention.
Yep.
But then I think it's driven from insecurities, So what did you learn? Because I know you had an interesting journey. You went through some trials and tribulations and found out a lot of shit about yourself. What were the biggest, what was the moment for you where you first realized that creating content in this world was some sort of a problem for you?
It's been like a constant problem, from the fact that as a content creator, people look at you in sort of one light, you could say. So whatever you're known for me, it was comedy. I used to go out, in public, and people would literally start filming me without me even wanting to be filmed, and tell me to say a joke or to do a dance, almost like I was a jukebox. So then, I remember there was one situation, and it's funny. Like, it was funny at the time, and it is funny now. I'm not complaining about it at all. But there was this one time we were at the Star City casino a couple of years back, and I just remember, like, I walked through the casino, and this group of guys just started like circling me, surrounding me, and just started filming me. And they go, "Oh, hey, it's Jamie Zhu. Oi, bro, do a dance, do something funny, do something." So my persona was always laid in that sort of realm of like, I'm the funny guy. And so, in order to like sort of get out of that, and I guess how I sort of like worked around that, and sort of, to answer your question, like found how I was able to sort of be myself more, and get out of that sort of paradigm shift, get out of that way of thinking, was funny you asked me now. It's actually only been sort of recently, man, because there's so much censorship now in social media.
Yeah.
And people can't, go against anything that, certain agendas are talking about. You saw through COVID, it was the time where the world just shut down on every opinion besides the narrative they wanted to portray. And what I found was, during that time was a perfect opportunity for the people that actually wanted to speak up against what was happening, against, tyrannical measures and whatnot, to have a voice. But then you slowly started to see social media outlets clamp down on these people. As an example, I wasn't vocal about what I thought about the whole thing, like lockdowns and vaccines and that, but I did post a Instagram story one time of a protest in Melbourne against, vaccine mandates. And from that one story, I lost my partnership with Facebook and Instagram.
What?
So after that, it became almost like a dog-eat-dog sort of mentality, where you were like, you know what, if I want to even survive and still have a platform, I can't speak out.